Hi everybody, it's Miss Noreen. Hope everyone is doing well and staying healthy. Before I start Circle today, I just wanted to say that today is April 7th and it's a very special day for one of our friends. Happy birthday, Stevie. Stevie is turning 5 today. I wish I could be there to celebrate with you, but I thought Alexa could sing happy birthday to you. Alexa, sing happy birthday to Stevie.
Okay, let's do this. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And many more.
Happy birthday, Stevie. I hope you have a great day today. Also, I wanted to say that I got to see Hannah and Lucy drawing me some pictures in the driveway. And I happened to go out today, which I never do, and I missed Jackson and Alex. So, hi Jackson. So sorry I missed you. I hope you come back again and draw me another picture, and I can actually get to see you. So today, I'm going to read Mr. Wrong. Whatever Mr. Wrong did was absolutely, totally, completely, utterly wrong. However hard he tried, he just couldn't do anything right. Just look at his house. Look at that door. Does that look right? And his windows are all crooked, and his chimney is all crooked. One fine morning, Mr. Wrong woke up. He hadn't slept very well because of the way he'd made his bed the day before. He jumped out of bed, fell over twice, put on his shoes on the wrong feet, went to the bathroom, tripping over the bath mat, squeezed out some toothpaste onto the wrong side of the toothbrush, brushed his teeth, ouch, and went downstairs. Bump, 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 bump. I think he fell down the stairs. Not a very good start to the day. In fact, his usual wrong start to the day. In the kitchen, Mr. Wrong poured some milk onto his cornflakes and missed. As he sat in his kitchen that fine morning eating his dry cornflakes, he sighed. Oh dear, he thought. My dogs are going to bark right during my video. We'll let them stop for a minute. You can look at Mr. Wrong eating his dry cornflakes. I do so wish that everything I do wasn't quite so absolutely, totally, completely, utterly wrong. So after breakfast, he went for a walk in order to think about how he could solve his problem. It took him 10 minutes to get out of the house, because he kept trying to open his front door outward instead of inward. As he walked along, he passed a worm. "Good morning, dog," he said. The worm grinned. He was used to Mr. Wrong. He met a postman. "Good morning, Mr. Wrong," called the postman cheerfully. "Good morning, doctor," replied Mr. Wrong. Oh dear. He met old Mrs. Twinkle, who lived down the lane. "Good morning, Mr. Wrong," she smiled. "Good morning, Mr. Twinkle," replied Mr. Wrong. Oh dear. And then he met somebody he'd never met before. Somebody who sort of looked like him, but didn't. "Good morning, sir," said that somebody. "Good morning, madam," replied Mr. Wrong. "I'm Mr. Wrong." "I guessed that," replied the person. "Well, I'm Mr. Right. Now tell me," he went on, "why are you walking along looking so miserable?" "Because," replied Mr. Wrong, "I can't do anything right." "In which case," said Mr. Right, "we'd better do something about it. Follow me." And off he set. And off set Mr. Wrong in the opposite direction. Mr. Right hurried back and turned him around. "This way," he said, and they walked together to where Mr. Right lived. It was a house which somehow looked like Mr. Wright's house, but different. Everything looks straight and in the right spot in this house. Mr. Wright took Mr. Wrong into his living room. "I think," he said, "that the only way you are ever going to change is for you to come and live with me for a while. And you may end up being not quite so absolutely, totally, completely, utterly wrong about everything. Sit down," he said, "and we'll talk about it." Mr. Wrong sat down and missed. Mr. Wrong stayed with Mr. Right for a month, and during that time, he changed. After 1 week, he was slightly less wrong than he had been before. After 2 weeks, he was even more slightly less wrong than he had been before. And after a whole 4 weeks, he was a changed Mr. Man. You could hardly tell the difference between him and Mr. Right. Don't you agree? Does he look like Mr. Right now? Mr. Right was delighted. "Told you," he cried. "Told you that everything about you might end up being not quite so absolutely, totally, completely, utterly wrong. In fact," he continued, "you've really turned out all right." Mr. Wrong blushed. It was quite the nicest thing that anyone had ever said to him in the whole of his life. And he went home and lived happily and right ever after. Now, you probably think that's the end of the story, don't you? Well, it isn't. And the reason it isn't is because of what happened to Mr. Right. The trouble was, you see, that the longer Mr. Wrong had stayed with Mr. Right, the more right Mr. Wrong became, the more wrong Mr. Right had become. Isn't that extraordinary? "Oh dear," Mr. Right sighed. "My plan didn't quite work out the way I'd planned it after all." And he went to bed. Do you see what's on his head? And he does not have matching gloves on anymore, and he's sad now. And you know where he went to bed? In the bathtub. Very silly. Bye, everybody. See you soon.